Welcome to the Unconsumed podcast. I'm Lee Corning.
And I am Chris Ryder.
So this week we are going to talk about a couple funny things. Chris has the hiccups right now, which I think is the great premise for any podcast.
It's a good thing we're doing a podcast on light-hearted stuff today, because if we were doing, religion or politics and I've got the hiccups, it would probably throw off our credibility.
A little damper on the sincerity of it. So
far, though, no hiccups in a few minutes in. Maybe this is just what I needed to just kind of talk a little bit.
Maybe.
But we got a fun one today. We are both comedy fans, so we're going to talk a lot about comics, both with us and not with us. We got a few ways that we're breaking down some of our favorites. We're going to talk about highest grossing comedians of 2017. Pretty interesting list, and these guys make a ton of money.
It's true.
We neither of us are on that list. Just spoiler alert.
Well, yet.
And then we're gonna kind of expand that and talk. Okay, great top 10 greatest comics of all time. You thought it might be fun to pick out the ones that aren't with us anymore.
Well, fun.
Not fun. Not for them.
So, yeah. So one of the terms that's thrown around is the Mount Rushmore of comedy.
Yeah.
And so there's 4 heads on Mount Rushmore. We discussed this morning because I thought there was 3. So yeah. I picked 3.
You're like, who's your top 3? Your Mount Rushmore. I was like, well, are you leaving out Roosevelt or Jefferson or what?
I left out Jefferson.
Yeah, he was the one. Okay.
So we'll pick 3 comedians that are the greatest of all time, the best 3 up and coming, and then 3 that are dead.
Okay, so the top 3 entertaining up above or down below?
Yes. Interesting.
Probably down below.
And then I thought it would be funny because there's a lot of talk about like laws right now because everyone's needed in politics and worried about this and that. There are some really hilarious laws that are still in existence.
I forgot we were doing that.
Around the world.
Love it.
Yeah, so I found some lists. There's no shortage of lists online for this.
Yeah.
So I picked, I've got a million of them, and I picked some that I thought would be the funniest. So I'll rattle through those, and then...
I can't wait for that. That's going to be good, because I haven't seen that list.
What do you want to do first?
Let's do the comedian stuff first.
Okay.
We've already prepped our listener for that, and then we'll go to yours.
And then, as always, we'll have a couple things that are annoying at the end.
Things that are annoying Lee and Chris this week.
That's right.
I've got a pretty short list, only one, but it's relevant. Okay. Highest grossing comedians of 2017.
Okay.
What's interesting about this is this is the top 10. All 10 of these people made at least $15 million last year.
Wow.
Telling jokes.
Well, is this including like TV shows?
It does include that, but a couple of them, the first couple on the list, this is just by touring.
Okay.
Essentially. Okay, so I'll start at 10. I'll work our way down.
Okay.
First of all, let's see, who would you guess is number 1? This is probably easy to figure out, and then I'll start.
Just touring?
No. This is all gross.
Well, Seinfeld makes the most money.
There you go. Okay, so it's Seinfeld.
Okay.
I'll start at 10.
The show keeps ripping.
The show keeps ripping. He's got the new Netflix specials. We'll talk about him when we get to 1. Number 10, Sebastian Maniscalco. You know this guy?
Maniscalco is
Maniscalco.
He's my number 1 up and coming.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if you call him up and coming. He made $15 million in 2017.
Well, you asked me if I knew who he was.
That's true.
So that's what I'm using as
good
up
call.
And coming.
I only know who he is because of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee from a couple years ago. Seinfeld did an episode with him, and I was like, this guy seems really funny, really boisterous.
Yeah, he's got 2 good specials on Netflix.
Yeah.
That you should check out.
So he made 15 mil last year, all on touring. He didn't have any specials there. So he did over 100 gigs last year. So if you do the math on that, that's 150 grand a gig.
Not bad.
That's pretty good.
I'll take that from in my job.
Yeah, I'll bet. Number 9 is Jeff Dunham.
Okay.
Similar MO. He made a little over 15 million, but all from gigs.
Dunham's the guy with he's not the guy with the puppet, is he?
I think he is the puppet guy.
Yeah, I'm not super into him, but
not into the puppets.
I understand that people are.
Look, 100 times however many seats. Okay, number 8 is Terry Fator. Terry Fator has a Vegas special, or a Vegas show, long-running Vegas show. He pulled in about $18.5 million last year. His Vegas contract can reward him up to 20 million. So he's got a pretty good deal.
Nice.
I think they said he's the only current like long-running Vegas comic right now.
Okay.
Whereas there used to be quite a few more of those.
Yeah, so one thing about this list, and this is just feedback for our own time, is that if we spend a little more time preparing, we should have these guys' faces on here.
Well, this never works. Every time we do this,
it shows faces and stuff.
Okay, well,
but not words too well.
Follow along in Google at home.
Yes.
Okay, number 7. One of my favorite guys on this list is Jim Gaffigan. I really enjoy Jim Gaffigan. He made $30 million last year.
TV show.
He does a lot of touring still, and some. I think he had a couple of Netflix specials.
He did.
The Netflix specials pay well.
Yeah.
Number 6, Kevin Hart. This guy is everywhere. In every movie, he has a billion Instagram and
followers. And things,
yeah. He made $32.5 million.
Yikes. He's. What do you think about him? Do you think he's funny?
I do think he's funny.
I think he's pretty funny, but I think it's the same type of funny a lot.
Yeah, he's got his own funny shtick, but Seinfeld's got his.
Everyone's got that. Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put that. It's not my exact brand.
Yeah,
that's why it's more sensitive.
Yeah, we saw Jumanji with The Rock and him, and
The Rock is in Jumanji.
The Rock is in Jumanji. Yeah.
Is this new?
Yeah, it just came out.
Okay, there's been a bunch of Jumanji movies.
This is they made 2, I think, back in the old days, and then they just made this remake.
Okay, I've not been aware of that.
Yeah, the new one's really good. Really great watching. Very, very entertaining. The Rock, Kevin Hart, and Jack Black, who's phenomenal. I think Jack Black is so underrated as a comic actor.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he kind of hit a high point and then became character.
Yeah, but I don't think we reward great comedic performances like we do dramatic performances, and they're harder. I think we talked about this once before. Eddie Murphy has said the same thing. I get an Academy Award for Dreamgirls, and I made one face, and Nutty Professor and Norbit, it's the hardest I've ever worked in my life, and no one else in the world could do that. And he's right. And you watch Nacho Libre with Jack Black, he is flawless in that movie. He is perfect. Really good.
When he became very present in my mind was Orange County. You remember that one?
Yeah.
And then the one where he is. Shoot, there's one more that he's in that's very famous. School of Rock.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was actually looking for that last night on Netflix or something because I thought my son would like it.
That's a great one.
It is a good one. I loved Nacho Libre. I think he's really good in it. And he's got a new one on Netflix called, it's something about the Polka King or something. And it's kind of based on true story about this guy who came to America. He's a polka band leader, but he also had some kind of monetary scheme going. I haven't watched it yet, but
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it looks pretty interesting. So, sadly, he's not on this list. Kevin Hart is making a ton of dough.
He's an actor. He's not a stand-up.
The only woman on the list at number 5, do you know who it is? Did you just look?
Well, no, I didn't look, but I would assume it's Schumer.
Amy Schumer, you're exactly right. $37.5 million. She had a movie, she had a Netflix special, at least one. She may have had 2, but $37.5 million. She's making a ton of dough.
Yeah.
Number 4, Dave Chappelle.
He's back. Built solely on 4 Netflix specials.
Yes, absolutely. He did some touring to build up to that. I know. I know a couple folks who went to some of those shows, and they were built up for that. But yeah, he made $47 million this year, and he walked away from everything for years.
Right.
And isn't that amazing to know you could just come back to it? Like, you know what? Yeah, I don't need this. I think I'm ready for another 50 mil.
I'm famous enough.
Yeah, I'll come back.
Yeah. So Bill Burr has a podcast, and he was talking about how Dave Chappelle was at a club in Boston. I believe it was in Boston. No, it was in L.A. And it's just him and John Mayer.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that freaking wild?
Yeah.
And so they're up there, and Dave Chappelle will do his stuff, and John Mayer is just sitting over there playing over the top of it.
That would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be unreal?
Yeah.
And so I guess like Bill Burr heard it was going to happen. He's like, I'm going, and I very rarely go to shows to see other guys like this, but it's like two incredible performers.
Yeah, I watched both of Chappelle's new Netflix specials. The first one is kind of your traditional, big stage,
right?
And it's really funny. It was a great pace. It was really funny stuff. The second one was very toned down. I don't know if you saw it. He's sitting on a stool.
Okay. I haven't seen the second one yet.
That one's much more political, and it's good, interesting watching, but it's not necessarily raucous laughter.
Yeah, it is funny because I was listening to one of my favorite, I guess, guys that gives me insight on what I think about the world and stuff. And he was saying that the role of the comedian is so valuable in society because in times of chaos, the only guy that can say the truth is the comedian.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons that I don't think comedians should have to apologize when they make jokes that people don't like.
Well, and I think he says that actually several times in there. He's like, I would never apologize for a joke.
Well, good for him. Now I'm going to watch it for sure.
He said, now I have thought later about what I said and thought, maybe I wouldn't say that again, or now I understand how they feel, or, sorry if I caused you any pain, but I don't apologize for making a joke. It's a joke.
Good for him.
Yeah. Number 3, Louis C.K.
Yeah, Louis made some money.
I imagine he'll make less in 2018.
Yeah.
But he made $52 million last year, so he can, I hope he's, spreading it out. I think he's probably doing okay.
So I have a thought on this one before we go to the next one, is they voted for the Baseball Hall of Fame, I believe, yesterday.
Yeah.
And so notable absence was Curt Schilling. And so Curt Schilling, since exposing his political beliefs and taking it on the chin at ESPN, maybe not handling the press very well, has gotten much less votes over time to get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And so my thought is on this, and we'll get to this maybe when we're talking Mount Rushmore, but Louis C.K., for his brand, ascended to a certain level. And now, because people don't like him or think he's a bad guy, he's fallen way down.
Oh my God!
But it doesn't mean that Curt Schilling's wasn't a great pitcher, or Louis C.K. wasn't a phenomenal comedian.
Isn't? Yeah.
Right. And so I'm like, does a person's behavior affect their performance over time? And the same thing's going on with Cosby, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I don't know how to feel about that, but it's something to think about. Where do you draw those lines? At what point, and so we were talking about this with companies the other day, when your company, when you buy something from a company and they support certain things or don't support certain things, should you still not value what they do?
Yeah, it's tricky, because Curt Schilling, I thought you were going to go to Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, but Curt Schilling didn't break any rules. He's just unlikable to many who cast votes. Right. And that's kind of strange. Louis C.K., he had a movie coming out last year. I don't know if you ever saw the preview.
I heard about it.
It was all in black and white. I think he wrote it and directed it, and it was about him, and he had a daughter who I think was starting to grow up, and it looked really compelling. It looked funny, but also poignant and well shot, and they completely scrapped it.
Right.
Because of all this. Chappelle actually had a really funny take on Louis C.K. in his special. If it was in the second one, you got to at least watch it first, because it's pretty funny. So he'll be back. He's hilarious. Number 2, I was surprised at number 2. So we know that Jerry Seinfeld's number 1. So who's missing? Who would you guess is number 2? Who am I missing?
Chris Rock?
Yeah, I was surprised he was that high.
He is in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
He is the voice of so many animated characters that it's hilarious. And those guys get comped in the same way as the actual physical actor does.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd believe that.
I think he made $60 million last year.
Good night.
Yeah. So,
he's such a recognizable voice, too.
Yeah, he is. And I feel like he kind of brought comedy back when he did had his specials. God, that was like late 90s. Maybe early 2000s. He had that one that was just blew up and was really, really big. And it seemed like comedy hadn't been there since Eddie Murphy, and that kind of brought it back.
Yeah, at that time, that was one of the things that brought my attention to comedy in the first place.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't watching comedy shows when I was 5 and 6.
They didn't have a lot of specials. I mean, really, it was Eddie Murphy, after Raw, there wasn't a whole lot.
I agree.
Okay, number one, Jerry Seinfeld, $69 million last year. Golly, that's a lot of money. I was excited to see his Netflix agreement. He's going to do 2 more seasons of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee.
Which is one of my favorite shows there is.
Yeah,
it's
great. Stripped of all the garbage of a talk show. Mm-hmm. And that's what he kind of, I think, not to put words in his mouth, but I think I read that he wanted it to be the antithesis of a talk show. You know, we sit on a couch and talk, and this is not that. So he's going to have a couple of new seasons of that, and then plus the old Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. What's really interesting though about him is that Netflix doesn't have all the Seinfeld episodes. Hulu does.
Hulu has those. Yeah.
So he's got a Netflix and a Hulu. He's getting money from everywhere.
Yeah. Well, you know, he might not be getting more money in that capacity, but he's getting it from multiple places.
It's pretty rare to have, I guess, 2 exclusive agreements.
I got a deal with Nike and I got a deal with Reebok.
Yeah, you don't see that very often.
I don't think ever. Not at the same time.
So that's a ton of money. All those folks over 15 million, I was sort of surprised. That's a lot of scratch, especially the guys who are just doing gigs and are pulling in that kind of dough. And there's a lot of guys who are under that who are making $1 million a year, right? Just like second tier guys that are pulling in a ton of scratch.
Well, I mean, if people are funny, man, that's such a draw in every capacity. I was surprised to see Schumer so high because she's had negative press.
Yeah.
And I've also was surprised to not see Aziz Ansari on there because he's been really famous recently.
Yeah, I actually was too. I bet he would be in that 11 to 15 range. Mm-hmm. Because he does have, his Netflix shows.
And he's on Parks and Rec. Obviously, he doesn't know any publishing to that like Seinfeld would. So he's not getting any residual off that. But I was really surprised to see Maniscalco make that list because he was only present to me in the last year.
Yeah, same.
So, yeah, it's really interesting that he's risen that far.
So, let me transition. I'm going to run through. I have 11 comics here that are... I think most people, if you were to make a top 10 or a top 5, all these guys would be somewhere in there.
Okay.
So I thought what we'd do is use this 11, unless you have others, and then we can kind of build our Mount Rushmore off of Living Dead. And then I have up-and-comers. I have 4. You probably have a couple of others. Great? Okay. Here's the list. This is in no particular order. Seinfeld, Pryor, Cosby, Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle, Louis C.K., George Carlin, Robin Williams, Don Rickles,
great one,
Chris Rock, Rodney Dangerfield,
Stephen Wright.
Yeah, Stephen Wright. I didn't have him on here. Longevity, he certainly belongs. I love his humor. I think he's really funny, and I love the delivery. Nobody else does it like that. Mm-hmm. And I love how committed he has always stayed to it. Like that's his shtick, and it's just hysterical. So he probably belongs in there. Who else am I missing?
I love all comedians because they're willing to stand up in front of people and try to make them laugh, which I think is which is borderline superpower. And that's off Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee almost exclusively. Let me see this.
I've left off people like Steve Martin.
I love Steve Martin.
Jim Carrey.
I don't think Jim Carrey is a comedian as much.
But he was prior to In Living Color. And same with Steve Martin, right? He was a stand-up, and then he went to Saturday Night Live, and then he made movies, and then he, so that's why I'm leaving some of those guys off. Sam Kinison, I didn't have on my list. He may belong. I didn't ever really care for him.
He's wild, man. Mitch Hedberg. I can't get enough Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, you're a Hedberg guy. Okay, so he may belong. So does he belong on the list of greatest comics of all time?
Well, he's who I had in mind when I said dead comedians.
Okay. Mitch.
Mitchell's correct.
But, and then a lot of people, like Patton Oswalt, I don't think he belongs up there.
I don't think he's that good.
I think Newhart's really funny.
I'm Bill Burr. Bill Burr's pretty good.
I got Bill Burr on my up-and-coming. I know he's kind of established, but he doesn't show up on this list.
He doesn't show up on the top ones.
Yeah.
Leno might be able to fit
Yeah,
there.
you know what? Leno probably should be on here. I'm surprised he's not even listed in this group of 30.
Lewis Black is in
Yeah,
that.
Lewis Black is in here.
Norm Macdonald's been a mainstay for a long time.
Red Fox, prior to, the media, Red Fox was huge.
I haven't seen much Red Fox.
Well, I haven't either, but I just know that he was, highly influential to, Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor. This was before they had TV and
I recognize
specials.
him though. I've seen him.
Sanford and Son.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where you'd recognize him.
Okay.
Billy Crystal for a long time. Wanda Sykes. She's really good as a stand-up. Yeah, the rest I think we've pretty much captured.
Yeah, we got him.
Okay.
I think we should add one more piece of this, and that's maybe a Mount Rushmore of overrated comedians.
Okay, I don't have thoughts on that yet. Let's do this. Let's say
we'll do that another time.
Let's say top 3 dead comics. This
Okay.
probably should be pretty easy. You go first.
Robin Williams,
Okay.
Hedberg,
Okay.
and then probably Carlin.
All right. So I would have Pryor as number 1.
Okay.
I think most comics would say
Yeah,
he's the best comic ever. I don't have any evidence of that. It just seems like they always talk about him. So I would say Pryor. I would say Robin Williams. And I don't know. I'm not a big Mitch Hedberg guy, so maybe Don Rickles, Rodney Dangerfield.
Dangerfield's a good one.
I would say it's one of those two. So if I did a traditional Mount Rushmore with 4, that would be my 4.
One reason that popped
Carlin
in,
probably belongs there too. I'm just not a big George Carlin guy.
yeah, well, yeah, he's a different animal, and so is Pryor though.
Yeah.
So what I would say is the reason that I thought to put Mount Rushmore of dead comedians is because these guys all seem to die young, and there must be something about like being able to look at the world and point out the funny things in it and make other people laugh. That like somehow like it must hurt you somehow because these guys don't seem to go that far.
Yeah, I think they a lot of them battle demons that they expose and that we think are funny. And Sam Kinison obviously died very early. I don't know much about Hedberg and how he went, but yeah, I think that's pretty.
A little bit of drug use.
Well, it's similar to musicians. I mean, they have the same sort of appetite for, I don't know,
Art.
Yeah, their art is probably made better partly by their own destruction, right? Like, I don't think Nirvana and Kurt Cobain. I don't think he makes that music if he's not in the pain he's in,
And
right?
unless he's like kind of on some edges. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
Same with Jim Morrison and all those folks.
Completely agree.
Okay, so we have some consensus then on our top.
That's it.
Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to do 4 for my true Mount Rushmore greatest. Now, are we doing greatest of all time now, or are we doing greatest of living, or what?
Let's do up and coming, or let's do all time, and then we'll do up and coming. Just 'cause
Okay.
we're there.
So my 4 would be Seinfeld, Pryor,
Okay.
Eddie Murphy. I don't know if I'm ready for this.
Okay, I'll help you out then. I put Steve Martin in there, and I only had 3 because I thought
Steve Martin?
Steve Martin, yeah.
Okay. Greatest comic of all time? He's on your Mount Rushmore?
For me,
Okay, I'm not saying you're wrong.
and so I would be tempted to put Mitch Hedberg there because, to me, he was great. But there just seems to be like a certain level of market appeal that you have to be in that place.
Yeah, see, I'm looking at it that way. Like, it's got to be recognized.
As the biggest, yeah. But I'm talking about like for you because we'll obviously have different views on it.
All right, so I've got Jerry Seinfeld, Richard Pryor, Bill Cosby, who really brought comedy to, I think, the mainstream. Richard Pryor, Red Fox were a little more fringe. Cosby, made everyone love him. You know, he's the biggest TV show in the world for white people as well.
Yeah,
we watched it every day.
He fits that thing about like his actions don't deplete the fact that he pitched a perfect game kind of thing.
Yeah. And then, man, it's a tough one for the fourth spot. Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle, Louis C.K., and Robin Williams would be who I think probably belong up there. And I think I would say Louis C.K.
All right, he's in. Maybe it's because we talked about why other people wouldn't put him in.
Well, I think he's stayed true to stand-up comedy. You know, Eddie Murphy was a phenomenal stand-up comic, but not for a long time.
Right.
Chappelle has done, kind of back and forth, and Robin Williams kind of the same boat. I mean, he did comedy off and on. Mm-hmm. He was really gifted at it, but okay. Not that it matters what I think.
It definitely matters what you think.
Okay, I'm interested in your up and coming because I think you have a better finger on the pulse.
Yeah, so my number one comedian that I think is up and coming that everyone will be hearing about is John Mulaney. He is fantastic.
Yeah.
And so he tags around with a guy named Nick Kroll, who's also, to me, really funny.
I don't like Nick Kroll that much.
Not many people do, but I would say Nick Kroll is a different type of thing than Mulaney is, because Mulaney is like on that Seinfeld vein, and Nick Kroll is like the antagonist type of person. But they're funny together, I think.
Mulaney, I didn't know do they do things together?
Yeah, they make TV shows. They did a 2-man Broadway 3-hour play. I don't know if it's 3 hours. It's definitely at least 2 hours.
Huh.
And it's just them like yucking it up for a couple hours. It's pretty great. As far as up and coming, that's my biggest one. Do you have any other thoughts?
I had him on my list. Sebastian Maniscalco was on there.
That would be on there too.
But there was another one that wasn't, and I couldn't find him. I didn't have enough time, but I watched a couple specials he had. One that was on Comedy Central years ago, and I think he had a Netflix one. And I feel stupid for not knowing his name, but he's got like kind of like a bowl haircut. He's super irreverent and just really dry and interesting. I'll try to find it and
put it in the comments section.
Yeah, I remember watching his stuff and it was so different and really, really funny.
Yeah.
Okay, that's our comedy portion.
Yeah. Let's rip that off. We dragged a little bit there. We won't deny it. But the number one overrated comic in your brain, go. It could be these guys. It could be the other guys.
I would, in my mind, it's George Carlin.
Really?
Yeah, he has. I think this lofty spot as a comedian. Partly, I think, because he said things others didn't say, and he said them in the way that others didn't say, and he had this real, like, I'm not scared of anything attitude. But I just don't think what he said was all that funny.
Right.
I think he had interesting social commentary, and it was worth listening to, and maybe it helped, change how we talk about things. But as far as a comic, I didn't ever think he was really that funny in my mind, but I'm probably in the minority.
So, okay, and that's totally fine. I feel, take everything you just said for the past 15 seconds and then replay it and then say, in my mind, is Trevor Noah. He's not funny to me.
Yeah, I don't think he's that funny either. That's a good call.
But he got one of the most prestigious jobs in TV and in comedy, and I don't get it.
I think what he is really likable.
I don't like him.
You don't like him either. The other person.
Why would he be likable if he's not funny and he's on TV?
Because he's, I don't want to get to. I think for the Daily Show, they want somebody that sort of represents that left-leaning side, right? Mm-hmm. And so here is someone we identify as a minority. I mean, he's South African, and he's really intelligent, and he's somewhat funny, and he's just looks like a nice guy. He seems like a sweet guy.
Well, he looks like a nice guy. He probably is a sweet guy, but I don't think he's funny.
I don't think he's that funny either.
That's why I think he's so overrated. But that's another story.
He's not on this list. Well, he is kind of on this list, but the person that didn't come out in this in any of it is Stephen Colbert, and I am a giant fan of his right now. I think he's so funny.
I haven't seen him in a while.
You don't watch The Late Show?
No, I'm in bed by then.
Yeah, I'm in bed, but I usually watch like the first half of it.
Gotcha.
his delivery is fantastic. I think his writers are really good, but he's got he's obviously talking about things that help.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right,
great.
Now I want to hear. So now we're done with comedy.
Yes, now we're done. Now throw your page. Do your Letterman again.
So now you've got a list of laws that these are still on the books.
99% of them are still in the books. Yeah.
Okay. And these are some legacy things that maybe had some relevance at some point and somehow are still in the code.
Yeah. So what's funny about this is there's lots of laws going around, and I think it's noteworthy that when you have critics of laws, there have always been critics of laws. And so at some point, someone was a critic of these laws, and they were just like, do it. And then that's how you measure political success, is how many bills you pass.
Yeah, okay.
And so once those bills are passed, unless someone goes in and actively repeals them,
they don't
which
go
is
anywhere.
A ton of work,
yeah,
they stay on the books in perpetuity.
That's great.
So
I want to see what things I can get away with.
There are some gems in here.
All right.
So I'll rattle through the ones that I think are boilerplate but worth knowing, and then I'll focus on some of the ones I think are funny.
Okay.
So since 1986, U.S. authorities have had legal access to any email that's 180 days or older.
Wow.
So yeah, that's all free range to the government.
But if it's over that, it's public domain. It's sort of like
their public domain, not public domain.
Right, they can access it.
Yes.
Without any kind of warrant or anything like that.
I guess so.
Okay.
In Mobile, Alabama, it's illegal to spray silly string or confetti.
Is that right?
That's what the lists say. I saw that in 2 places.
Wow. Mobile, no silly string.
No messing
around. So this
around.
is a fairly new law. I mean, this wasn't. I expect some of these to
silly
be
strings like 70s,
from the 1800s. Like you can't bathe with a horse.
There's plenty of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of these are going on right now. In the Philippines, you will be charged with the crime of unjust vexation for doing just that, vexing someone, and it is that arbitrary. So I looked up vexing before this because I was like, maybe the term
what does it
vexing.
mean to vex?
So vexing just means to annoy somebody.
And if you do it unjustly, that's against the law.
Right, to annoy someone or to confuse.
But if it's justified, hey,
right. So
I wonder how you prove that, because I think that's the key component there. Unjust vexing.
So this podcast would largely be illegal in the Philippines.
Largely, yes. It's unjust annoyance. Vexing.
Yes, so vexing. That's a word I want to use more often.
Yeah, agreed.
In Thailand, it's illegal to step on money. In Montana, proxy weddings are allowed by those serving in the military. So you can have a wedding.
You have a stand-in?
And you can have someone stand in for you. And there have been several cases where neither of them are there. And they've just got people filling in, they sign the docs for them, and they're married. These people that aren't here are married.
I wonder if they do that with prisoners too. Because prisoners are always getting married. And I'm like, how is this happening? How are these people getting married in prison?
It's the strangest thing. This is just it's a military write-in from whoever.
That I don't mind that. I like that.
It's a funny one though, because
two people who I wonder who shows up to that wedding.
Yeah, they're like, we're here to celebrate the 2 people that aren't here getting married.
And do they have like a toast? And we want to thank everyone
a reception
who is here,
with a cheese
not
cart.
Including the bride and groom who couldn't be here.
In Britain, it's illegal to handle a salmon in a suspicious manner.
That is amazing.
What does that mean? I don't know. Doesn't matter.
I like to think about what happened to make someone institute the law.
Right.
Right?
It's probably like this guy was he was down at the grocery store or the local market a long, long time ago.
But it had to happen several times where they're like, look, we're going to have to write a law because these people won't stop holding up liquor stores with these salmons.
Okay, so I'm picturing like a guy going past the store and there's one of the store clerks and he's just like holding a salmon, like, making eye contact, unjustly vexing him. And this guy happens to be in the local parliament. He's like, you can't do that anymore.
Sorry.
Shows up the next day.
I gave you 3 warnings.
New law. Pay me a salmon.
Holding it how?
Suspiciously.
Suspiciously holding a salmon. That's my favorite so far.
Because
it's not a fish either. It's a salmon.
Is it just? It's a specific salmon.
You're still okay on like perch and bass.
Yep, that's totally cool.
Love it.
In Britain, it is illegal to import potatoes to England or Wales if you have reasonable cause to believe that they're Polish.
That the potatoes are Polish.
Yeah, the potatoes are from Poland.
If you have reasonable suspicion that they're Polish potatoes.
Yeah, I don't know if that's because of like
that seems very racist.
Trade embargo.
I'm wondering if it's like Cuban cigars, or if it's that there was like a mad cow disease.
That's what I'm thinking.
A mad potato
There's
disease.
been no shortage of conflict in Western and Eastern Europe.
Oh,
and Poland is the doorway to the other side.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So in Utah.
Oh, Utah's gonna have some good ones.
Yeah. In Utah, a husband is responsible for his wife's actions as long as he is with her at the time of her actions.
Wow.
So can you imagine like going out and like say your wife is mad at someone and does something that she's not supposed to do? That's on you, man.
If she slaps me in the grocery store, hey, you're liable for that, my friend. Man, I don't think that would work for me.
In parts of India, a man who is in debt can offer up his wife until the debt is paid.
Yeah, I think I've heard something about that. That's an unfortunate one.
That one's still alive. In France, it is stated as illegal to marry a dead person.
I could see that. I could see how you should make that a law. I mean, why is that even?
Well, that's the only place.
Anywhere else you can.
Well, seems to be some blurring of the lines.
There's some leeway there.
In Britain, it is illegal to carry a plank across the pavement.
To carry a plank across pavement. Plank being, I guess, a long board.
Yep.
You can't carry it across pavement.
Nope.
Well,
that's another one that creates a mental picture. Is it like someone dragging it, or are they actually carrying it?
Hey, stop that, chap! Was that a British?
I don't know.
Yeah.
In Pennsylvania, it is illegal to tie a dollar bill to a string and put it on the ground and then pull it away when someone tries to pick it up.
Now, I have done that.
In Pennsylvania?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
In Philly?
I think so.
That is so funny.
I think I may be the reason for this law. So when I was in high school, we took a train trip from Texas. Well, actually, we started in New Orleans. It goes up through Memphis, goes to Chicago, and then it goes over to D.C., and it stops in Pittsburgh and stuff. So we hit all those cities. It was like a 2-week-long trip. It was a lot of fun. Like me and my family and stuff. And I had this little gag thing that's like a, like a badge extender thing, but it's like a little fishing line.
Right.
And when you push the button, it snaps back. And I would tape a dollar bill to it, and like we'd be in a restaurant, and I would just put it on the floor over here, and somebody'd walk by and bend over to pick it up. You zip it up, and then they feel like an idiot.
Which you love.
Oh my God, it was endless joy, and I was breaking the law.
If it was in Pennsylvania, then yes, but you cross that border into neighboring states, you're all good.
I know for sure I did it in Philadelphia.
That's fantastic.
Man, I sure hope that I'm part of the cause of that.
If there's a statute of limitations on the
I wonder if they're going to drag me back.
Dollar bill. Chris Ryder is at beep 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 location in beep 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 town.
I hope they don't extradite.
In Hong Kong, there's a law that allows a wife to kill her husband if she finds him cheating.
Whoa.
However, she must kill him with her bare hands.
No. Amazing law.
Yeah.
That's how you write a law.
It must be with your bare hands. In New York City, it's illegal to honk your horn. If you do, you're at the risk of paying a $350 fine. I don't know if you've ever been to New York. That's funny.
Nobody pays attention to that law.
In England, it's illegal to die in the House of Parliament.
It's illegal to die in the House of
You're
Parliament.
not allowed to die there.
And they arrest you?
I don't know.
When you do?
By law, any whale or great sturgeon caught in the UK is property of the Queen.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's
good for her. What does she do with them? She have like a whale room?
I don't know. I'm sure that's an old track.
That's probably an old one. Yeah.
In Missouri, it's illegal to drive with an uncaged bear.
Now that's a good law. You don't want to be doing that.
So I was driving down the highway maybe 2 days ago, and there was a trailer with no top, or like it had edges and like a two-board fence on it, and there was 15 cows just kind of like cruising down the highway.
I've never seen that.
It was really wild. Yeah.
Wow.
It was on going north-south between here and Dallas.
That's not safe.
No, but it was funny to see because the cows are like, they're sitting there looking
They're like,
at you.
bro, I don't think this is right.
He's like, I'm not fast, but I'm going 80 miles an hour. In the UK, a law still exists from the Middle Ages that requires all males over the age of 14 to be trained in longbow shooting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a good skill.
In Australia, it's illegal to change a light bulb unless you're a licensed electrician.
No.
Yes.
Man, they got some power over there, the Electrician Guild.
Yeah, that's like the Tesla thing where like Tesla was like, we're going to make dealerships way better and not as cost overhead. And the government's like, no, you have to have all those things that make you worse.
It's like the realtor.
Yeah, that's another one. In Argentina, there's a law that states Argentine nightclubs must play the same amount of tango music as all other kinds of music combined. So you figure 50% tango music, and then whatever else you want has to be the same.
See, and someone was so incensed with the lack of tango music in Argentina that they went to their senator or whatever and said, we have got to enact a law because I keep hearing Garth Brooks and no tango.
Well, I read that and I was like, well, they're trying to protect their they think the kids will all like this other music.
They're protecting their heritage, their musical heritage.
I didn't hate that one as much, but it sounds funny.
I don't hate it. I'm just wondering, like, what was the impetus for it?
Do you hate it more or less than it's illegal to change light bulbs in Australia?
I hate that one.
That's pretty funny.
That smacks of corruption.
It does. It's like something that the taxi companies would do.
Yeah.
An ancient Norwegian law that still exists obligates Norwegians to go out on expeditions to plunder at least one time every 5 years.
Golly, Sweden's got to hate that.
Yeah, that's right. And that is our list. We'll end on that one.
Once every 5 years, you have to go plunder.
You got to. It's your duty as a Nord.
That's good. That's a great list. That was funny.
That was fantastic.
My favorite was what was the one that the salmon.
Yes.
Holding the salmon suspiciously. Yeah. I'm gonna do that next time I go eat sushi. I'm gonna just hold the salmon real suspiciously. Okay. Let's talk about what's annoying Lee and Chris this week.
I'll go first real quick.
Okay.
I've got two, and then you can do yours.
I got one.
Is when kids are sick. If you've got kids and they're sick, your life is done. If they're waking up in the middle of the night, you're not going to sleep for several days in a row. It's going to be horrible.
So you're annoyed with children. That's cool. All right. That's pretty sweet. Your own kids, I assume. You're annoyed with your own children.
Yes.
What a jerk.
I'm annoyed with the viruses that inhabit their little bodies.
Gotcha.
And the allergies. The allergies are hard to distinguish when they're so little and they can't say anything.
Yeah.
Because the only way to know anything at all is to go to the doctor. And that's a process too. And then finally, I usually have a pen right here that I use to write things down.
I know what you use a pen for.
When I need to, but it's like on hand. It's like
sure.
It's like my quick draw.
Yeah.
But it exploded today.
Yeah.
So
you're annoyed with exploding pens?
I'm annoyed by the fact that pens explode. Like I will pay more money for the same pen, just make it not explode ever.
Well, I think that's a possibility. The pens you use, are they the ones from like that you get?
No, it's the Uniball. No, it's the Pilot. It's the Pilot pen, Pilot Precise, and they've been blowing up on me for 20 years.
Stop buying those.
I like them a lot. It's my favorite pen.
So what's annoying me this week, and hey, I think we found the cure for the hiccups.
I'm kind of disappointed, actually.
I know. I was hiccuping all day. And I just knew this was going to be full of hiccups. And I didn't hiccup once. This is amazing. So what annoyed me today is how everyone has a cure for the hiccups, and they're all stupid, and they don't work. Like, can't people just accept that you have them and then they go away? So the first thing this morning, I'm hiccuping. My son, who's 9, is in there brushing his teeth. He's like, Dad, if you take a sip of water and swallow it upside down, they'll go away.
Right.
And, you know, I assume 9-year-olds know everything.
Right. Especially about stuff like hiccups.
Especially like stuff like that. Medical advice,
yes,
as someone later called it. That didn't work, obviously.
Right.
And then, you know, I get to, my wife reminds me that she had the hiccups one time. She's in a restaurant. She goes into the restroom. A lady hears her hiccup, and she's like, want me to get rid of your hiccups? And she said, yeah. And so she grabs my wife's shirt, puts her hand under it, like on her stomach, and just holds it there. My wife's like, what's going on? And then her hiccups are gone, right? So it's the shock thing, I guess.
Okay.
And then, you know, I come into work, and somebody's like, oh, you need a partner. You get a cup of water, and they yell out numbers, and every time they do an even number, you take a sip of water. So we did that. How did that work?
Not great.
Yeah, that doesn't work. So all of the tricks that people do. So I'm going to add one to that. Every time I see someone with a hiccup, I'm like, oh, you just need to film a podcast. Get on a podcast. They'll go away just like that.
Just like that.
Yeah. It's the only way to do it. It works every time.
For me, it does.
100% of the time.
Works every time.
All right.
Yeah, that's it, man. Hey, thanks for watching. This is episode 9. So we're trucking along, and thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next week.